Hey guys, Dylan Sider with Kinfolk Carpentry here. Today is going to be a good day. I'm working for McLennan Contracting and I'm building some cabinets on site, which is kind of unique. So follow along and I'll give you some tips and tricks on how I do that. All right, so here's the project here. I'm going to be building bookcases from wall to wall here. They're about 30 inches wide each. That's what I'll be doing. There'll be kind of a trim around the top and I'll have some lighting along the top. This project's been very cool. I've been working kind of periodically on this with McLennan. I helped frame the project. It's a nice, beautiful basement. This is super cool. I installed this the last time I was here. It's a Murphy door, so bookcase that opens, which is pretty awesome. They come as a kit and you can install them. Very cool feature of this basement. But this is my primary focus today. Gonna be great. So I've got my plywood all ripped to width. It's 13 1/4 because it's going to be a 14-inch deep cabinet. So these are 13 1/4 with a face frame. It will be 14 inches deep. So I need to start cutting all these to length. These are my sides, and then I also have pieces for my tops and bottoms, and then I have 1/2-inch plywood that will be the back. And I'll show you the next step. After I start cutting all these, I have to drill holes for adjustable shelving, but I'll show you how I do that. Here's what I use for my shelf pins. Kreg product, and it comes with this little stopper on your drill. So you basically drill boom, 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 and then you move your jig up and you put this pin in your last hole so it keeps all these at a consistent spacing. Make sure when you're doing it, mark the bottom of your piece. So when you're doing all kinds like this, before you assemble, make sure you mark all the bottoms so that you're working off of the same mark. So I come up a foot, just start drilling my holes on the next one, come off the bottom the same, and make a mark at the top of where you want to stop on each piece so that all the holes line up. And obviously works the same way this way. Go from your line, work across, and it should work out. Pretty simple jig, and it works great. I've used it quite a bit. All right, we're gonna just get one assembled here quick. I'm using crown staples. I'm just gonna nail them together first, and then I'll go back and I'll screw them together. Alright, now I'm cutting the back for my cabinet. The sheet I just cut is going to square my cabinet up for me. Okay, so here's a good example. See how much it's at a square. So I just keep it nice and flush. I will just give this a little bit of a little bit of a kick, make sure it's nice and flush, and then I also can move the side of my cabinet in and out to line up with the back, and that makes the sides of my cabinet nice and straight and the cabinet itself square. Alright, so I got all 4 of my boxes built, and I am ready to build just a base here. It's going to be just built out of 2x4s on edge, so 3.5 inches tall. Yeah, just going to stud it up a little bit here, and then we'll shim it all level so I don't have to do as much work with the boxes. Yeah, so I'm going to get started on that. Alright, so I got this base all in, shimmed where it needs to be level, and screwed in down here and along the wall, and I got a few screws in over here. Got it as level as I could, and now I'm ready to throw these boxes in on top of there and kind of get started on working those in. So I think part of my plan with this is I'm trying to avoid a bunch of screws that are going to be seen along the top here. So my plan is just to take my little Kreg jig and take the feet off it, which works out if I butt it to the wall. It's about 3/4. It's set for the 3/4. So if I set it up here on a stud and I drill in, I should be able to get a pocket screw into my stud right here to suck that tight to the wall instead of putting a screw down here, which will be seen or will need filled and painted. This is a good way to fasten it to the wall without putting a bunch of screws in down here. All right, so I think I hit a protective steel plate in there or another screw on that one. That one worked, but I'll show you how this works here. Works pretty well. Never done this before. Screw in. Bam, bam. Never be seen up here because this will all get a big head detail, but worked well. So it helps when you frame stuff. I just screwed this tight to the wall, and you can tell here it is perfectly plumb that way. And it's running pretty level this way as well, which is great. So I'm working my way along, screwing along the top, and I think I'll get a few screws down into my base, try to hide them in the corners, maybe even use a few finish head screws so they're easy to fill. I have a plug behind this one, so I gotta cut that out, but it's going well. All right, so I'm getting started on trimming these out, doing face frames and things. But some of these, just from ripping through a table saw, one sticks out a 32nd, and I don't want that to twist my face frame. at all. I want them sitting nice and flush, so I'm just taking my power planer, set at like a 30-second, and just flushing them up. Alright, I'm going to start with my bottom face frame, which is going to be a wider piece, and I'm going to let it stick up past the plywood just a little bit, because that will always crack if you leave it completely flush. So I'll leave it stick up a 1/16, go 4 5/8, and I'll scribe it in. Gives me a bit. Alright. So I'm just going to scribe this piece in. I think it's going to get baseboard on it. I think it would look good with baseboard, but that's not my call. That's more of a designer thing. So, like I said before, I'm working for another contractor, so I don't have like the say on even what materials I use and things. I am going off of a rendering. So, all right, I got this scribed in, so I'm gonna nail that. And this where the mallet comes in. When I go to put my shelves in, my shelves are gonna butt into the back of the face frame. So I made these a lot wider so that it'll cover the gap of the shelf when it goes in. All right, so this morning I picked up some material for my shelving. I'm starting to cut it all. Just cutting with the track saw. And so that's what I'm working on. And I got all my nosings made, which are sitting in there. And I will cut all those to length and nail them on. And that's how shelvings get made. This is what I'm doing right now, is I'm rounding over my nosings where it butts to the shelf, and I'm rounding over the shelf as well, so that it gives it basically a seam joint there, because if you try to hide that joint, it's always going to just either crack over time, or if your plywood's just a hair above your nosing, or your nosing's a hair above your plywood, it's not seen. It just is a nice consistent little seam there. That's an 1/8 inch round over on each side. So that's what I'm doing right now. All right, so I got all my shelves in, kind of equally spaced here, and now I'm going to start on this top trim piece. It needs to be removable so we can get to these boxes back here and bring the wires out. So, and as I cut this piece, I'm just checking for square with this little framing square here, just to get an idea of how I need to cut my piece. All right, I'll show you what I'm doing now. I made these pieces that are just gonna slide up there. They're screwed from the bottom, so they're nice and sturdy. And I'm just sliding these up there, and they'll get screwed up through here. It gives me a nice surface to mount my big header piece on. So when I mount that, then I can pull the screws under here and pull the whole piece out so we can access those electrical boxes behind there. So yeah, these ones are already screwed in nice and solid. and I tucked it right up behind here so it'll never really be seen. So that's how I'm mounting this big header. All right, so I put a bit of power grab construction adhesive on each one. My piece is ready to go in, it's all fit already. And I marked each one on my face frame so I know where to nail. All right guys, this one's a wrap. I'm excited to see this all painted up and the library lights in above here. It's gonna look awesome. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you on the next video.